Zagna.
Yeah. As we say in Persian, Zagnul as well. Look at this, how
Yeah,
beautiful this is, Pete, right?
that's so well made.
Yeah.
I a collector in Sydney had a really nice looking one,
Yeah.
and it was when you picked it up, you just this was such a one purpose weapon. You picked up your. We're gonna.
Yeah.
Clearly you can hook with them as well as strike,
Yes.
and they often have edges on the blade, so you can cut with them as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they're not a single purpose weapon. They've
Mm.
got more, and they've got a hammer on the back, which
Yes. Let me
would
show the
probably
hammer
be
for our viewers, please.
yeah.
And there are two types. Some of them are this. Some of them are,
Hmm.
like thinner, much thinner. Some of them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that type became very popular in Poland and Hungary,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Because a gentleman would walk around with one of those as his walking stick. And if a fight started, he would be able to finish the fight rather quickly because you
Yeah.
wouldn't get up after someone hit you with it. Uh, One of the reasons it's a lot safer to walk around the streets nowadays.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
you wouldn't want to meet someone with a bad temper with one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice sword.
Yes. And interesting, this is in the Indian collection. That's those weapons which were given to Tsars from India. And this is,
Mm.
I mean, I'm talking about this saber, I'm sorry, which looks
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
Turkish, right?
yeah. Well, bear in mind in Lahore, they were making shamshirs that looked exactly like shamshirs.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
Sometimes,
Yes.
sometimes they actually imported Iranian blades and mounted them on shamshir mounts in India that looked just like Persian shamshirs. I mean, they
Yes,
were really
they
good
did.
craftsmen.
Yes, they did.
This has a kind of general Turkish look to it.
Yes,
The blade looks more like a blade you'd see on a Carabella type sword rather
yes,
than a.
yes.
But it also looks as though somebody's punched somebody with the lower quiver. It's a bit out of line. It looks like you
Yes, it
punched
is.
somebody.
This one, right? Out
Yeah.
of the line. Yeah, yeah. Balance a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, that's right.
Now it's interesting. It's still got its sword not going through the hole in the top of
Yeah,
the handle.
yeah.
Because you do see
Yeah.
in engravings and that from the 19th century people hanging their sword off their wrist quite clearly.
Mhm.
I've done a bit of experiment with this with one of my curved swords, and it was
Yes.
quite easy to flip it back up into your hand.
Yeah.
And I am clumsy, so if I can do it, a practice person would be so much better.
Pete, do
With
you remember we were going through Khavaranama on horse armor, and you pointed it out? There was a guy who was hit by a spear or lance, I don't remember, and his shamshi was hanging.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you remember?
See, this is yeah. So there's something that was completely contemporary and showing exactly how useful that was. Because I think of it, you can shoot your bow and have your sword there.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're in a battle, you might not even be hit by the enemy. Two horses could collide and it could knock you. And if you've just got nothing, you can drop your sword and you're disarmed. I noticed that Qatar has a twin blade
Yes.
and a matching
Very
scabbard.
thin. Look at this.
Yeah, that would be
Unbelievable.
nasty.
Nasty. Yeah, yeah, very nasty.
Yeah. What happened to him? He was bitten by a cobra. I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, it's
It's like
like
a cobra.
fangs.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Good comparison. Good observation,
Uh,
really. Right.
yeah, well, we kind of see that shield's done in the Persian style with six bosses,
Yes.
which is nice.
Persian style. Yeah.
Um, the the Qatar nearest to us is in the South Indian style with
Yes.
the guards. I reckon they would have been really effective as well. The Europeans had left-handed daggers, and in Iran you would often have a khanjar and a small shield in one hand and a sword in the other. I reckon those would be really good as a left-handed dagger because they've got a lot of protection. The way the guard curls up like that, if a sword blade comes down, it catches it, stops it from going any further. Um, it's very strong,
Yes.
and the blade itself. I mean, we talk about katars as punch daggers, but
Yes.
they're really effective at cutting because your whole forearm and the dagger is one piece, and when you
Yes.
cut with it, it cuts very
Very.
authoritatively.
That's right. This is what
Yeah,
the Western collectors call it, hooded Qatar, right? That's what
yeah.
they call it.
Sometimes the hood is in the form of a cobra's hood as well. It can be
Yes.
quite artistic.
Yes.
But and
Yeah.
again, like the pata, often the blade is riveted to the handle
Yeah.
rather than a tang. Well, you can't have a tang with a qatar.
Yeah.
So that there are different ways of attaching the blade. In South India, South and Central India, I think riveting the blade was more common. In Northwest India, like Rajput areas and Punjab. Um, it's more likely that the blade is forged welded to the grip. I've never heard of Qatars breaking in the grip,
No.
so it must work. Whatever they're doing, it must be very
Yeah, yeah,
effective.
absolutely. It's very solid. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Look at this
Oh,
speed.
oh yeah. Oh, got one of those weird swords with the swelling in the blade. I'll go from top to bottom.
Hmm.
Um, so left hand we've got a kanda, a mace with a sword hilt, another kanda. In the middle we've got what looks to be a variation on a kukri.
Yes, it is. This
Is
is
it?
this Indian type, kukuri type with a tulwar
Yeah,
handle and kukuri blade. Exactly.
yeah. And then we've got two of these. I cannot remember the name of them, but they were used for sacrifice to the gods of water buffalo. So
Yes.
apparently, if you were really good, you could cut a water buffalo's head off with one of these with one
There are
swing.
videos of them, Vid.
Yeah, I know.
You
It's
saw that,
just so
right?
amazing. I mean, water buffaloes are not easy to hurt, and their skin is so thick and so
Really?
hard that it makes really good shields. So the thought that somebody and as you say, there's video of it. Somebody could do that, and I mean, it's done for religious reasons. It's not done
Yes.
out of
It's for
you know
religious reasons. Yes.
bloody mindedness. So then on the first shelf, we've got starting at the right a buzzer bar. Buzzer band and a char iron in the back.
Yeah, here.
Uh,
Yes, here. Yes.
yeah. Then Torador or musket, and I'm not quite sure what the items in the foreground are there because it's edge on to me. Are they powder horns or something like
Yeah.
that?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got another zaglal and a mace.
Yes, this
They
one. They're
seem.
made of ivory.
I was going to say they look very white.
Yeah, we are going to see close-ups. They're made of ivory, both
Okay.
of them.
So this is just showing off. Then above them we have what looks like a fairly normal tulwar with a knuckle guard. On its left is one of these swords that I think were popular in South India.
Yeah.
And it's mounted with what I would interpret as like a pulawar hilt, where it's
Yes.
got down to equivalent, but the top is like a pulla hilt,
This is
which
this
is
type
common in that.
where Western collectors, I say, call like cobra sword, right? But again, these are
Yeah,
terms among collectors. We need to be careful, right? So,
yeah, because almost certainly they have no relationship to what the people who use
yes,
them call them.
exactly. Exactly.
Uh, they're a really interesting sword. I think they go back to one of the old South Indian empires,
Yeah.
where they weren't quite so Tulwa hilted, and then they gradually developed, and they weren't just a sword, but they had some kind of religious significance in the shape, which related to one of the gods.
Yes.
I'm just remembering
Yes.
bits and pieces. The Tulwa looks fairly normal,
Yeah.
except
Yeah,
the
it
pommel
does.
looks tilted in the wrong direction, but that's there. Uh, the Khanjar is really nice looking.
Very nice.
It really anybody in the Ottoman Empire or the Safavid Empire would be quite happy to have that.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
take it home. Yeah. Then the next one over, we've got a very nice steel shield,
Yeah.
which it's got gilding all over it, but it
Yeah.
does look as though it's a working shield that looks strong.
Yeah.
It appears to be kind of like a truncated anchus below it, but I'm
Yeah,
not
it
really
is. It
sure.
is an anchor. Yes. It is. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we're going to see close-ups of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got a Chilanum type all steel dagger,
Yeah.
then another Kandar and its scabbard. Then
Yeah.
another Chilan with the
Yeah.
open without the knuckle bar. A friend of mine had, I think, 8 of these, and he had them mounted on little stands,
Mhm.
and he called them the dancing girls because they look like. I mean, they're all big daggers made out of beautiful woods. Uh, but they were so elegant in their shapes. They looked like they were dancing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we've got a really nice Khanjar with the pistol grip
Yeah.
stone hilt, which was very popular in Mughal
Very,
India and
very.
very beautiful. I mean, those hilts ended up on swords in Istanbul and in Beijing because there are swords in both places where they've remounted those handles from Indian daggers
Yes.
because they were just considered so beautiful. And then we have a really embossed shield, which I'm guessing some very rich person had his bodyguard walking in front of him carrying that because I don't think it was meant to ever see the light of battle. But it was definitely meant to show how important the guy was who owned it. Kandars are really interesting swords because they have a very thin, hard steel blade with a back that's riveted onto it to stop it from flexing. So it's like those carpenter's swords that have a stiffened back to make a really thin blade go straight when you're cutting through wood. Well, these are for cutting through people, but
Yes.
it's a technical solution to a problem. You wanted a really thin blade that was good at cutting. They're not meant to fight against people in armor. They're literally designed to chop people's arms and legs off. Um, I got to handle one that had a black Khorasan blade,
Mm.
really almost jet black, but you could see the patterns in it in the light. And it was hardened like spring steel.
Mm.
And even after 200 or 300 years, it was still razor sharp. Nobody'd sharpened it in
Yeah.
its lifetime in people's
Retain
collections.
it. That's the
Yeah,
magic of crucible steel. Even after I've
yeah,
had 500 years old. Oh no, it was
yeah,
500 years, still sharp, completely sharp. That's the magic
yeah.
of crucible steel. It is.
Yeah,
It-
people find this out with tulwars sometimes because the a lot of the scabbards for tulwars are just meant for storage. Like there's dressy ones covered in silk and everything that are meant to be worn. But when you like shirasaya in Japan, you
yes,
have special scabbards when you're putting them away in
yes,
storage. And these are made of a very light wood covered in velvet. And many's the time I've seen somebody pick the scabbard up and draw the sword out without checking. And the scabbard is just split and they've been cut straight along the palm of their hand because
yes,
the
that's right.
sword is still sharp.
Still sharp.
Uh,
Yes.
I don't know why people don't think swords are going to be sharp, but often they are. I can understand in a European steel scabbard, swords get dull, but in scabbards in India and Iran and Turkey and China,
Yeah.
they can stay sharp for a century or two without
Yes.
too much trouble. That's a nice gun, though, isn't it?
Yes,
It's
it
really
is.
good, isn't it? Really good proportions. I mean, I'm speaking as a non-shooter. A nice gun to me is its sculptural shape,
Okay,
and to
B.
some extent.
Now look
Oh,
at
I
the
see.
magic of Indian craftsmanship. Look at that
Oh
meat.
my God. Let's talk about the ivory
Unbelievable.
first because that dagger deserves a lot of comment.
Look
So
at the dagger beat. Isn't it
that
beautiful?
rock crystal,
Yes.
um, they have very small tangs,
Yes.
but I've never heard of anyone complaining about it. It's really amazing when you see a blade in good condition. A lot of museums are too frightened to clean the blades
Yes.
because they're not sure how to deal with the steel.
Yes.
This is in the kind of condition that um, knives were kept in.
Yeah.
So you would have
Yes.
the fuller is full of gold figures
Yes.
and that, but you can see the watering pattern because
Yes.
you would do the fuller and you'd etch it so
Yes.
that you could see the watering pattern. But
Yes.
the edges of the blade are bright polished because they've been sharpened to a razor edge. And people, when they see these and realize that in use, these were really beautiful. I
Pete,
mean, it
this
was
is
very
imperial work,
sophisticated.
isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, look at the gold work on that.
Yeah.
We've got I think we've got, is it a horse with a someone holding a parasol over it?
I don't know if I
Oh,
have close up of it. Hold on, let me see. Beat. Oh, I don't. Oh, next time I go there, shoot, when I go to Russia.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, this is exceptionally good quality stuff.
Exception.
Again, these are see they look so elegant, but they're big. People until you get to hold them, you don't realize how big
Yeah,
they
this is a
are.
big. This is a large dagger. This is not. Yeah, this is a large dagger. Yeah,
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 I mean, yeah, this is
yeah,
you
yeah,
could cut somebody's arm off with it. I mean, down there, not up there, but
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
not that that's how it was meant to be used. But I mean, these are really solid. A lot of these daggers are much more impressive in the flesh uh,
Yeah.
because it's hard to judge the scale. I mean, I've got a card that's that long and it's really nice, but I've got other cards that are that long, and
Yes.
if you put them in a picture together, they look as though they're the same size. But
Yes, exactly. Good point. They look the same in the picture. I mean, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
in a picture. That's why it's important when you because you've taken these pictures from different angles and different positions, and you get a feel for the size of things compared to other things. Whereas,
yes.
if you just have a single picture,
Yeah.
I saw someone on the internet, a person who runs a kind of YouTube blog on touring around historical sites in London, and she put on a plate armor in a museum and
Yes.
said, "Why don't museums, when they've got armor, why don't they put the weight? Because this is a critical thing." So she weighed herself on a scale, like a bathroom scale, in a normal clothes, and then put the armor on and stepped on. It was something like, I don't know,
Yes.
21 kilos or something like that. But the thing was, it's such a reasonable thing. We look at When you look at even swords, their weights are important
Yes.
because they tell you about how they're going to move. I mean, it doesn't mean because the sword is light that it moves well, but often they're light because they're designed to move well.
You know, Pete,
Um,
I think we talked about it just, well, that's just maybe because you mentioned that. Many collectors who collect, they have like shamshirs 600 to 850 grams, and they say, okay, shamshir was a light weapon, although 850 is not light. But then in this
no,
Ghazvi, and I saw this Shamshir of Nader Shah, which is in my Arms and Armor book, which is 1,250 grams, I think, around.
yeah,
But in Ghazvin collection, I handled 1,450 grams, 1,650 grams. Shamshir, solid crucible steel. Look,
yeah.
you see, so
And the thing,
yeah, you see,
when people see photographs of them, it's just a curved blade. But when
this,
you pick them up, you realize it's that thick at the back. I
yes, it
mean,
is.
they're monsters.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, no matter the weight, they're always thick on the back. Yes,
yeah,
always,
yeah, yeah,
always.
and they do feel really good in the hand. I've got to say that. I've never. I mean, it's like Ottoman swords too. They just have certain things about the balance of them that
Yes,
I feel are nice. I have picked up a few replica Polish sabers, which I
yes,
thought they just had that speed to them that was very good too. So
yes,
lots of different places made their swords in different ways, but still came up with good swords.
yes,
Um, and it depended on your style of fighting, which things were important to you in your sword
yes.
design. I'm just looking. I can see the butt of the Toreador, the musket, on the top right hand corner. Is
Oh,
that
okay, okay.
completely painted in figures and things?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Let
Wow.
me just, we are going to talk about it later, right?
Oh, good, good. Now
But
these
look at the
ivory,
Zarnul bead made of
yeah,
ivory. Isn't it like beautiful? The Zarnul made of ivory?
yeah. Clearly, again, this is the Maharaja would be sitting on his throne, and he'd have a couple of people either side, somebody holding a shield, somebody holding his bow, somebody holding these. They weren't ever meant to be used. They just showed how wealthy
Yeah.
and important he was.
You know,
And that's
someone
an
was asking me regarding the Zarnul, if you're not unarmored, would it work? Of course it will. Elephants have tusks like made of ivory, and I think they work, right?
well, see, ivory. People again, if you haven't handled it, you don't realize how heavy and dense ivory is.
Yes.
I mean, it's serious. I've got a whale's tooth on my bookcase. Don't ask me why. Um, uh, at some stage, I acquired two whale's teeth, from 19th century
Yeah.
whalers, things, which I was going to carve into thumb rings. But I tested one and decided that it would take me about 2 months to carve one into a thumb ring, and I didn't have a free 2 months. And there was no guarantee I'd make a good job of it. But see, these are things, and they're old. They're yellow because they're 150 years old or something. But the amount of work that would go into making that, either one. I mean, when you see fine piercing on ivory, and you do, I mean, I've got a little earring, which is a Chinese ball within a ball within a ball within a ball, and they're all free moving. So it's just one piece of ivory. They've carved all these things out. They made big spheres that would have another sphere inside and another sphere inside that, and it's all open work, and you can see all the way to the center. These ivory lends itself to that type of piercing design because it is so strong and hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just this. I'm guessing. I don't know. But in India, they had access back in the 1700s or whenever this was made to very large elephant tusks.
Yes. And the mace, the flange
Elephants.
mace, is also nice, right, Pete?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. The way that's made, that maybe it's the flanges are assembled into the shaft
Yes.
because the Zargnut clearly the blade is a is fitted onto the shaft like almost like a metal one would be.
Yes.
But in the case of the mace, I think I can see the joins.
Pete,
I mean, it's
do you remember a very similar mace with the same piercings made of metal? We saw it in
mm,
Ukrainian museum. Do you remember that?
yeah, yeah. See, it's a common, not real common, but it's a common artistic thing that you can do with maces
Yes.
that to produce something. Because remember, a lot of maces are so ceremonial that they have no relation to. I mean, there's a mace, I think, in the House of Commons or the House of Lords in London, um, which is huge, and it's all open work metal and things like that. It's a beautiful piece of silverwork, never intended to be used. You just pick it up and move it and whatever. These are the same kind of things.
Mm.
And again, in Ukraine, among the Zaporizhian and the other Cossack groups, one of the signs of that you were a colonel of the Cossacks was you had one of these maces back in the 1600s.
Yes. Yes.
And so, I mean, they're kind of totally wrapped up in symbolism as
Yes.
well as their well,
Yes.
this is not practical. Though, to be honest, an ivory well, the ivory Zagnak, I think, would actually be really dangerous because of the sheer weight in the ivory.
Pete,
It,
take a
it
look at this Zarnul close up of the ivory. Look at this.
yeah, yeah. This is it's so beautifully done.
So beautiful, honestly. I've never seen a similar example in museums.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just
sure if you go to
incredible.
India, you will find more, right?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of old collections, and
You know,
and
because people always say, "Oh, there are not enough in India." I mean, we need to travel there, and I was never there and worked with museums. You know, how do we even know? Because they were not published in the
well,
West. You know, what I mean? It means
well,
nothing,
see, that's the
right?
whole thing. Think of all of the things from Iranian museums
Yeah,
that you've exposed on the internet, and even scholars didn't know about a lot of them
yeah,
because
exactly.
publications are in Farsi, um, whereas a lot of people in the West, in scholarly areas that are
Yeah.
interested in the Middle East, of
Yes,
all the languages you could learn, Farsi is probably one of the easiest for an English or a German
yes,
or a Scandinavian speaker.
yes,
Um, so it's quite natural, and in British India, up
yes,
until
yes,
the 1850s, there were actual schools and colleges for teaching Farsi because
yes,
that was the language of diplomacy, and all
yes,
the Indian courts, that
yes.
was their administrative language.
Yes, and some
Um,
of them who went to Iran, I have from records, and Iranians were so surprised that those British officers spoke such fluent Persian. So they're
yeah,
all surprised that because they spoke really
yeah.
fluent Persian, right? So,
Well, yeah. When you read some of the kind of diaries and memoirs of people,
yeah,
British people in India,
yes,
they quite enjoyed
yes,
um, speaking Persian because of the poetry, and the ones that learned Sanskrit and then read Sanskrit,
yeah,
um, treaties and things like that, that
yeah,
they were starting to discover this whole world. And
yeah,
then in the from the 1850s onwards, it was all just speak English and do what you're told. They lost the sympathy
yes,
for other cultures because they thought, well, industrial revolution, huge navy, really powerful. All of a sudden, people become arrogant. That
yes,
were before that were much more open to new ideas.
yes, that's
It
true.
was sad, but they weren't all like that. So there were still people interested in culture.
So we have a close up of the mace now.
Yeah, the mace looks like it's got a sword cut on the handle.
Yes, it does. This is not
I
a
mean,
natural crack. I agree with you. This is not a natural.
yeah, it does. It does look like because if worst came to worst and someone swung a sword at you, and you got a big chunk of ivory in your hand, I would be using it to to defend myself,
Yes, yes,
not trying to think about how much it was going to cost to replace. But
yeah,
yeah, you can see how the flanges are all fitted together into
yes. Ah, you can see that here now, right? You're right. I can.
yeah, yeah. So that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Still, it's beautiful carving.
Look at these now, Pete.
So here we've got a close up of that strange sword.
Yeah.
See a double edged
It's,
straight sword. Um, and I'm pretty certain it represents an old Indian style, like going back to the 14th, 15th century, something
yeah,
like that. This is
yeah,
not, it may go back a couple of hundred years before that as
yeah,
well. I'm not sure. I
yeah.
remember reading about it when I was
Mm.
young and foolish. So here we've got also a tulwar with a very solid blade.
Very,
Oh,
really.
and is this from
Mm.
Tipu Sultan's or Hyder Ali?
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think
got
so.
like a tiger's head on the
Yes,
on
it's a
the
tiger set. Yeah,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because that was the thing of the rulers of Mysore.
yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah,
Tipu.
I mean, the last great independent ruler in India, and
Yes.
he really did um, worry the British. It wasn't a foregone conclusion.
And a beautiful Khanjar bead, right?
That Hunja, is that a watered steel hilt with gold inlay? Because it
Yeah,
seems to match the pattern on the scabbard.
yes.
See,
That's
that's incredible stuff.
very beautiful.
That's such a strong look at the tip of the blade.
Yeah,
Oh, well, look at this
yes.
first. This
Let's
is
take this one.
yeah, beautiful little dragons' heads on the quills. Is that?
And
I'm
such a
trying to.
variety in this dragon hat speed. You can write a PhD on that.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's certainly enough of them, and it's really all the way across the world. So you'd see them in early Ottoman blades. You see them in Central Asia. You see them in Iran.
Mhm.
You see them in Iraq. You
Mm.
see them in India. I've got a pullover, Afghan pullover, that has that kind of grip on it with the dragon's heads and everything.
Yeah.
Very, very heavy blade. But actually, when I look at it, it's even the kind of fenestration, the little holes around the top of the pommel cap.
Ah,
It's got that. It's got that, but it's not. They're not piercings. They're just engravings.
some of them. I mean, I have also one published in my book, which is belongs to a Zan general. No, I forgot his name. Is in my first book. So when you, it's a like a silver uh, uh, grip, and
Mm-hmm.
inside is hollow, and there's some stones. When you open it, you see there's some stones. These are
Oh right, yeah.
stones like for praying. These are like holy stones. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
Zand period have that inside this hollow, and some of these pullover have the same holy stones in them, so they
I've,
make
I
this.
yeah, I've heard that
Yeah,
you shake certain pullovers and they make a
yeah.
rattling sound. There is
And these
something
are
to
these
it as
holy
well.
stones which are give you supposedly protection or things like that, right?
Well, if you're in Afghanistan, you always need as much protection as you can get, even if you're Afghan. See, that to me, that whole hilt is Afghan inspired. It doesn't really go with the blade, but the decoration has been made to match. So
Yeah, yeah,
it was
absolutely.
intended. It's not like somebody in a museum says, I've got a blade and I've got a hilt, we'll put them together. This was designed to go on there.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Whether,
designed. And that's the
yeah,
good thing because, we know, for example, that they were given as presents. So, you never know because we talked about it. But when they go to auction houses, sometimes they change the handle. We talked about it. Or
oh,
private
yeah, yeah,
collectors do that, right? So that's why
yeah,
these things are important for us to gain information, right? That's important for us, right?
yeah. I think, I mean, I've been tempted to do this. I've got blades that I bought because they were really cheap because the handle was broken and falling apart.
Yes. Yes.
And I always meant to rehilt them. I haven't got round to it yet because I've got too many other things I'm doing. But these, going on my tour, my paw,
Yeah.
these are really comfortable grips
Yes. The
because
bear.
they're more open than a toolbar grip. They don't have
Yes.
that flat disc. They're kind of
Yes.
the nice curved bomb cap.
They're
They're
always
very
comfortable.
comfortable.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very. And look at